Mm.
Good morning, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Here for a super special episode because we just can't get enough of MCP and HubSpot and LLMs. Had so much fun throughout the week. Nico and I decided to come and build from scratch, have some
Just keep
fun,
doing it.
build as many use cases as we can on a free flowing Saturday morning with no work to get in the way, man. How you doing?
Doing very well, sir. Uh, super, super, super excited this week, of course. And what's what's really is like it's kind of taken me back, but I don't know, is the reaction, and you kind of heard it yourself from Sejal yesterday of like how like wildfire MCP has become in the HubSpot ecosystem like so quickly, right? And it's really fascinating to me. Sorry, I know I'm jumping right.
Oh, it's okay.
This is the same. I don't know how my agent is going to take it in the future, right? And I tell all of them the same thing, that like, hey man, pleasantries are really not my thing. I don't know why, but my brain just like, yeah, cool, cool. We said hello, let's do it. Um, but yeah, I mean, outside of that, yeah, I'm doing well. Uh, I'm very, very, very super excited for a project that I'm working on right now, and I know a lot of the stuff that I'm working. It's kind of crazy. I know I've mentioned project after project after project that I'm working on. Um, you know, why a lot of the stuff I'm working on hasn't released, guys, is because the evolution is going so fast that a lot of the tools that I have been thinking of making or am in the process of making, a week later they get eaten up by something else. In some way, the way that I was creating it is no longer the most viable, right? So it's like,
Right.
I'm cobbling together something where somebody, that's whatever, somebody's put out a material that, is going to make it like infinitely better if somebody were to build it on the same framework. So it's like, oh, okay, might as well rebuild it on that framework. Um,
Yeah.
which
And that
sounds like it's, infinitely never going to finish, but I don't know.
well, that's what we're hopeful from the MCP perspective, right? Like
Yeah.
that is the framework. That is a standard protocol, so model context protocol
Hmm.
that at the heart of it, when we think about all of the SaaS infrastructure and systems that can't talk to each other and all this stuff, you know as a non-developer, it can often feel pretty ridiculous that these systems that have the same types of data in
Hmm.
them just require so many thousands of dollars and so many man hours to make it work, to get them to talk to each other. And that's why I think there's an inevitable flocking towards something that is not that, right?
Hmm.
uh and AI, especially, like, you put unnecessary complexity in front of it, it's just gonna blow right through it. It's gonna figure out
It's
pretty
what it loves
quickly
doing.
how to remove it, right? And that's what I feel is happening right now. Um, and it's interesting because, again, just a little bit of background, I am not a developer at all. And I'm sitting here and I feel like, there's countless movies where, like, it's some heist, or like, the tech guy sits down, he's like doing this, he's about to,
Yep.
like, just get in and then just be amazing, figuring out how to break into the system or just do things that everybody else can't even dream of, right? That's what it
Hmm.
felt like the first
Yeah.
time. So a few months ago, on a weekend, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try uh, this MCP thing, that I keep hearing about. Like, I'm in the Claude Reddit, right? And just you just see story after story of people just doing crazy things, right? And that was all like, unofficial MCP servers, people building their own stuff.
Hmm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes not. Now
Right.
we have an official one from HubSpot. So I'm gonna take you through the process as if you are a non-developer. You might not even have used Claude before, right? You might not even have used HubSpot before. But just wanted you to know that I've run through this process with other MCPs before, so I'm confident that we'll get to where we go. I also know how to use HubSpot. So if you're watching, or Nico, if you catch me using tribal knowledge to just, assume things are going to happen,
Mhm.
feel free to call me out.
All right.
But literally anybody can jump in and do what we're about to do today, right? And that is the power of this.
And to back it up one quick step, because I do want to try to. I don't want anybody to say like, ah, you guys weren't remedial enough. We didn't even understand it from before the get go. Claude is not GPT, but it is a generative app program. It's made by Anthropic. So when you hear the words Anthropic and Claude, think the same thing as OpenAI, ChatGPT. And it's the same. It's free. You can get it. With the free desktop version. You can also access MCP, but not some of the fancier shit we're gonna do. So get a
Right.
paid subscription.
Yes. And so this is the opening homepage, and I'm just gonna hit the search and tools here, because, and this is like, if you think ahead a little bit, before there was these integrations directly to Drive, which I'm gonna shut these off for right now. So there's nothing in my Google. This is connected to my Google Workspace. It's not going to be looking at that at all. This GitHub, this is an MCP for GitHub. Let's go ahead and disable all that. And so this was just MCPs out in the wild prior to it being a real integration. I say real as a native, built by Anthropic. In the case that we are about to look at one that was built by HubSpot, and eventually you imagine a world where there's just, there's a menu of things that you want to, plug into, or you don't, depending on the chat that you're in, right? Um, so, uh, so we're gonna start by just, I always like to confirm that I'm aligned with Claude on the topic that we're about to move forward with. So, and using Whisper Flow to just be able to kind of talk to Claude.
This is so
So
much
click
fun.
in here. Hey Claude, have you heard about the new HubSpot MCP?
Gotta tell you guys, Whisperflow, and Chris knows this all too well. Whisperflow is one of the only apps that actually picks up Claude as the name when you say it. I have used like Google, native Samsung, iOS. I've used so many different text to, or speech to text devices. Claude and Whisperflow are the only one that get it right.
So Claude hadn't heard about it
Hmm.
because it's not in
It's training data. Yeah.
its training data. So it searches the web, looks for some results here, and a lot of people are talking about it. And HubSpot has done a good job of sharing release notes, and we see developers HubSpot here. Um, so what is the HubSpot MCP? The HubSpot MCP server is an implementation of the Model Context Protocol that acts as a bridge between AI applications like Claude and Cursor and your HubSpot CRM data. Functions as an abstraction layer over traditional APIs, allowing agents to access HubSpot functionality through natural language without needing to understand the specific API protocols. All right, we can retrieve, create, or update HubSpot objects. We can list HubSpot objects and their properties. We can access and create associations between objects, create tasks and notes in your HubSpot account, open specific screens within the HubSpot UI. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So that's interesting. I don't.
It's doing that in the background. We won't be able to see
Yeah,
that
that's the thing is
in
like
the
it's
UI,
yeah.
right?
So essentially, like long story short, right? And what is the MCP really represent? I know a lot, a lot. What the hell is it? Like what break it down or whatever. Broken down, okay. You know what an maybe not for most of you. If you're not a HubSpot admin, then you're not familiar with it. But if you are an admin, you are. Either way, you may not be an admin and still familiar with this. A really simple one is HubSpot Salesforce. Okay, connecting HubSpot and Salesforce. You don't need an API key. It's a native integration to go back and forth, and you just authorize one to talk to the other. But then there's the property alignment. But then there's all this alignment. But then there's this other thing, right? So you can't, and even then you can't talk to the data. It's just that you can pull it over and look at it in your format, right? What
Yeah.
MCP is doing is it's adding this protocol in front of the data that quite literally is just based on your API key. Whatever schemas you give your API key access to, that's the tools that you can use through MCP. So there is no like, oh, I got to map this, I got to map that, I got to write this curl, I got to do this other thing, I got to, whatever. No, you just natural language request it. It fires the API request and does what it would normally do. So literally anything you can connect to with the API, you can do with MCP.
Yeah.
Just one more time. Anything you can do with the API, you can do with MCP. Okay.
And we're going to do as much as we can today until we get tired, which might be a while, for being honest, because this is really,
it's all about like pushing the limits with it.
You can't underestimate. And kind of breaking through, like, obviously all the examples are going to be traditional CRM related. And that's where even I'm having a hard time, but I'm getting there. And this is what it's going to take, is just moving through it, because I've got other projects, right? This is not in a project or anything. There's no additional context other than the personal instructions about how I like to, talk to Claude and how I want it to talk to me, right? But now, once we move through the setup, the ability to then use it across all the other projects, including client projects, like projects that are designed to support client work, right? You start to get into this post-sales world where nobody knows how to use HubSpot to support delivery after closed won, right? We're going to see today how powerful just being able to set it up and talk through it and say, hey, this is how the process needs to work. How do we do that in HubSpot, right? So who's it for? Primarily aimed at developers, technical teams, or companies building custom applications or integrations that leverage LLMs. That's probably HubSpot saying that. If you're an individual rep and you have access to this, this is for you all day long. So setting up requires some technical proficiency, or does it? Including having Node.js installed, editing a JSON configuration file, creating a HubSpot private app with appropriate scopes. All right. Let's go, Claude. I love it. Can you help me set this up?
Of course, sir.
And so this was the first time I ever did this. I took a weekend to try and set up. I was doing it for Google and HubSpot, mainly because there was a lot of troubleshooting involved, and I had never done any kind of coding. I didn't have like VS Studio or anything else.
Got it. Okay.
So it was literally
Yes,
like
this is good.
get everything on the app, right? Or on the computer. All right. So we got prerequisites. Node.js was installed back in that time. HubSpot account where you can create a private app. We have that. Basic familiarity with editing. I don't have that, but Claude's gonna help with that.
Yep.
An MCP compatible client like Claude Desktop, which is what we are looking at right now. So key distinction, if you're using Claude, the web app on like via Chrome, this is not for that, right? This is only for the desktop app at this time. And that's the kind of thing that once you have it down here as like an official integration, that's when it starts to be available on the web app and desktop.
Right.
So step one, create a HubSpot private app. We have done that, but let's show it just so we get the full demonstration here if you haven't done this before.
Just
pull that up.
Well ahead of time. My naming conventions are even worse than those of OpenAI.
Yep. And I love noting stuff like this. Like this is a HubSpot homepage that is in private beta. You can notice starting to feel very conversational inside of our HubSpot portal. And if you've seen the update that's related to this, they have a screenshot of basically Breeze being here, just like we see in the Claude homepage, right? So we are not we're not just pushing for this because we really like AI, right? Although we do like AI a lot, right? But this is coming for everybody, right? You're not going to be able to avoid this experience. And once you understand what's happening, why wouldn't you love it, right? Like you're able to talk to your CRMs. That's what we're getting to here, right? So in the meantime, before it's just one button click and integration, come over here, go into integrations, private apps, right? And this is where we're creating a private app. Come in here, pick your scopes, right? Go through all the things and then create app, right? So very simple to do that. We've done that already. Then we've got to install the HubSpot MCP NPM package. So open your terminal command prompt. And I'm sure there's a shortcut for that or something. Here it is.
Windows C.
This is where, like, before 3 months ago, I'd never used this ever in my life. Like maybe in 1995 when I was like learning how to use computers and playing games, and there was one game called Medivia, which was like a text-based RPG that was just like command lines like this, right? But for work, for anything like SaaS related, any tech stack, I had never used anything like this prior to trying this a few months ago, right? But it's literally, just asking Claude how to do it. And then it's here, I'm copying, and then bring it over here and hit enter.
Now, I should say ahead of time that, what was it? Yeah, okay, never mind. You are installing to your root directory.
All right, so looks like we're good. Step 3, configure the MCP server. Create a configuration file named HubSpot MCP config.json with the following structure.
Now, this is where I would like to go rogue because HubSpot has already given us the layout and like this aspect of it, where it's in a much easier framework to do, I think.
This one?
Yeah. So if
Yeah,
you
usually it's bigger. I was expecting something more.
yeah, because that's assuming a very straightforward thing, right? So if you navigate the-
Right. So
yeah,
this configuration file, um, it's skipping a step that it has given me in the past. So there's an easy way to get to the file,
yep. If you go into
right?
your
So I'm going to ask Claude here.
oh, okay.
Yeah. See, it's all going to be
You want to go
habitual.
to
Like,
that?
but once
Yep.
people get over like the keyboard,
It took me exactly 2 weeks, and now I it's,
right?
like, rare that I touch the keys to type.
Yeah. Hey, Claude,
Getting really good on
I'm
it.
having trouble with step 3. Can you walk me through like where this configuration file is supposed to be, how to get to it? Does it already exist?
So you should have given it the context out the gate of, "I'm not a developer, I don't know anything about coding, and I've never done this before."
Yes.
Context is king. Still give you the same false configuration, though.
What's that?
Still give you the same false configuration, though.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to do all this work. Like there's a there, let me see if I can prompt it some more. Is
Prompt
there
it like
an
this.
easier way to access this file through your own settings?
You're absolutely right. Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Okay. So in your AI client, Claude Desktop, look for settings. So we go up here, file settings, and all
That's not integrations, it's
right.
developer.
So we go to developer and then edit config. So this is me using the fact that I've done this before to uh, get a little liberal with the directions here. And it opens up this thing. Apologies for all the screens, but this is SaaS. So we have Claude Desktop config, and I'm gonna open this up in a different screen just in case there's some keys in it.
And now
So,
to edit the configuration file, it's you know, they say that you need to excuse me, they say that you need to download a coding program. For something this light, not necessarily. You could really edit this file in a text editor and you'd be just fine. I don't think you need to go if it's like your first go around. I don't think you need to go to the extent of like downloading Visual Studio or Cursor or something. But if this piques your interest, right, then make that your next step. So like if you do this and you go through this and you get it set up and stuff and you really like this sort of adventure of like, hey, I love plugging stuff in and getting like really technical with stuff, then go ahead, start like download any one of those platforms, and it becomes a wormhole super fast, super fast.
yeah. Let's see if I can share this in a meaningful way.
In a meaningful way.
Right. Uh, we'll see here without
I
like
like.
giving away the farm.
I have unintentionally worn the contrasting orange and dark blue. unwittingly.
There you go. All right. So here we go. Okay.
And you know, we're talking through it. Honestly, if you were doing this yourself and going through it yourself, and you condensed all of this, it's probably 30 minutes tops, I would
Mhm.
say.
Yep. Um,
Did you say you were going to do something to simplify?
yeah. So the JSON file, and when I first started doing this, like again, you don't need. I think Nico just mentioned you don't need Visual Basic. Like it would open up a text file, right? And what I'm covering here is a GitHub like key is right underneath the Claude window.
Gotcha.
But this is where we're just gonna take. Does this really work this easily?
No,
Okay.
I would just go to I pasted the link in the chat. I would just go to the HubSpot guide on setting this up. Um, they've got a little side article on npm that they posted, and it's got the config just right there.
Yep.
There you go. So the config should have a command that tells it what type of connection that it's making to the server, and then it has the actual like server listing in there. So like you can see how easy that is as far as an integration goes. It's like, oh, just put the MCP server name plus my API key, boom. Like it's usually a case where you have to write a hidden folder or a hidden file type that has that information in it, so that people online can't steal it. Then you have to write like multiple pages of scripts that are all different. Like if we were trying to do this manually, you'd have to have that as like the base. Then you'd have to have the server file that handles all of the functions, and then you'd have to write functions for every single schema that you were going to do, and then wrap all of that into a bow of a program. Right? It'd take you hours, days probably. If you don't know what you're doing, probably takes you a month. So that all comes down compressed into one tiny little script with your API key, copy, paste, save, and now you've integrated your LLM to your HubSpot server.
I'm finishing that up now. I'm trying.
And I guarantee it. Like once you do it once, it's just infinitely easy afterwards. The one time is like the hardest time.
Yep. And you got a key for me?
I sure do. There you go, buddy.
All right. And now I'm gonna just do a little switcheroo here.
It's the ultimate key.
So on the same file, you can see I've added this HubSpot section, and I'm going to add the private app key into this spot. If you do have experience with custom coded workflows, custom coded actions and workflows, adding keys in places like that, very common. So again, we're just giving the thing, in this case, Claude, access to the HubSpot API. So I will, and rule number 1, don't show anybody else the API key or the private key. So add that here. And we will hit save. And close.
Always be safe, kids.
All right. So back up here, we've configured the file. And in your terminal, navigate to the directory containing your configuration file and run. So this is just a check. I guess.
Yeah, just to check to make sure that it's configured.
So
Wait,
pull this up in the command.
Oh
Error.
no, it's trying to run it as if it's a program. That's why.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so instead,
Yeah, like
really,
you're already
I'm just
connected.
getting to here, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, so I want to be like,
Configuration files set up.
okay, I think it's all set up. Can you test to see if you can access my HubSpot? But I haven't done something important yet.
Yep. So what's needed is for you to restart Claude,
Yep.
but it's a tricky restart because it's not just like closing it and opening it back up again. I don't know if this happens on Mac. I kind of assume that it does, but when you close it, even if you have it like closed to or minimize the taskbar or whatever, and you close it out of there, it still doesn't. You have to open up, or at least I've had to. But I don't know. Are you running Windows 11 or are you on 10?
11.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably very different.
So
I'm a
I'm
stickler
checking
for old school.
settings here, and
Yeah, so that it is the same as mine. All right, so it shows like it's not showing up in your config, right?
right.
So what you need to do is close out and close Claude. And then open up your task manager. I ran into this like a bunch of times the other day, and I'm not entirely sure why it is this way, but it just kind of is. And in your task manager, you should see Claude still running somewhere down the list. You'll see like 5 or 6 of them or something in a row, or it might all be bundled into one. No, he's out of the background. All right, well then you should be good to restart or to start it back up. For whatever reason, mine still keeps running in the background, even if I close it out of the system tray. So when you go to the configuration, or even if you click on
Well, it
like
doesn't like, so there's another error that's showing up on the system. And it's related to me having some brackets in the wrong place,
gotcha.
I think. So
You didn't do a direct copy paste, did you?
oh. And then when I've done it in the past, it loads to the point where Claude is able to help me troubleshoot that. But with this particular bracket, it couldn't even open up the config file. So
I can't even stand to look at you.
yeah, that was the error that the system was giving me when I tried to open Claude. It's like, can't pull the config file. That's it. Uh-oh. Line 14, column 5. Save.
Somebody's asking me about my about my current AI team and how much it costs monthly. And I mean, honestly, like that's how I look at it. You know, people talk about it. That's the way I'm going to transition you guys, right? So when you talk about tech stack, when I hear that word, what goes through my mind is like mindless program. So like when you say tech stack, it's like, oh, cool. Like whatever, MailChimp or something, or like you have like Google or whatever, like you have softwares plugged in. But when I talk about my AI team, I'm talking about like I talk to them like people. So they are my peoples, right? Like they're these sort of interns, if you want to, that I hire out on a monthly basis for monthly monies. And they go and they do the various tasks that I need them to do. And very soon, folks, thanks to N8N and Aaron Wiggers and a couple ideas from Sharoz, I would attempt your last name, friend, but I respect you too much for that. But yeah, a couple ideas that I've picked up off of you guys here and there. Nothing that like you guys are working on, but just things that you guys have said that kind of triggered things in my brain. That's going to make me want to put together this this sort of ultimate Voltron of a agent.
Yeah. And so what I just did is I grabbed the whole config file and gave it to Claude and said, can you please help me clean this up? To which it did. So I'm going to save again. And that's where, so what complicated this was that I already had a config file with GitHub stuff in it. And I was trying to add the HubSpot section in there, again, without having any dev experience and understanding like how to best look at the brackets and make sure it's in the right spot and blah, blah, blah. So after a couple tries of troubleshooting myself, I failed and just give it to Claude, the whole thing, and say, please clean this up. And it's like, yep, this bracket, change it. And I put HubSpot inside of this spot. So now we should be good. And this is a beautiful thing. All right.
It's so sick.
And one sec. I just these keys are showing up in places now, so gotta be careful not to show them. Actually, I can just do it in a new chat.
I'll expire and rotate the key after this.
Yeah. So now open back up, and I can check to say HubSpot is here, and we've got all this availability. So wide open scope. And say, so this brand new chat. Hey, Claude, I just set up the HubSpot MCP server, and I'm really excited about it. I'm curious if you can confirm that it is set up and maybe check to see if you can access any data in my HubSpot.
Now it should be asking you throughout to allow access. So it's kind of it's a little annoying to me the first time, but it's like an always allow. So it's like the first time through, right? But it is, it's just a security thing because who knows, it might access the thing. So like the reason, so you'll probably see demos that I do and stuff like that that say like always allow. When you do, that's because I'm working on a sandbox account. So I don't care if it tears stuff up 6 ways from Sunday. On my professional account, I have a key. I have it hooked up. It is all read only. It's the same as you would like treat it the same way that you would if you were like, if it was an integration that you were giving to a third party that just needed to read your data, right? Like that's kind of the way you want to set it up initially. Once you get used to it, once you get used to the commands, because I'm not even joking when I say it is possible to like say the wrong thing and have it go make an assumption and try to do something on your behalf because it wants to help. So what we got?
So to summarize, your HubSpot MCP connection is successfully set up and authenticated. I can access your HubSpot account data, including contacts, companies, and deals. Everything is working properly, and ready to use. With this integration, I can now help you manage your HubSpot CRM data, run reports, update records, and perform various operations on your behalf.
Yep.
Is there anything specific you'd like to do with your HubSpot data now that we've confirmed the connection is working?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Claude. Thanks so much for confirming that this is working. But one of my frustrations when talking about HubSpot and working with people is this constant focus on contacts, companies, and deals, as if HubSpot can't do anything else. So I'm curious if you could just give me a comprehensive audit of this portal. And obviously, contacts, companies, and deals are important. But if you could spend just as much time looking at the rest of the portal in terms of other HubSpot native objects, if there's any custom objects, just the data model as a whole, making sure to highlight what's going on there and anything else that you might see interesting in the portal.
Yes.
So let's start by checking if you have any custom objects.
Yeah, I
Found
love the way
several.
that it talks through it, right? It really does sound like you're talking to or like you're interacting with an associate.
And so this is the Let's Build Media demo portal. Pretty much a playground for anybody that's does Let's Builds with me. And so it's got a lot of dummy data in there. We've got objects, got lots of stuff to look at, including an expenses object that I've played with to see how close we can get to ERP functionality, if I'm being honest. So comprehensive HubSpot portal audit. And this keeps saying Nico's name because he's the one that built the private app. Custom objects, architecture, and event management system. Okay. So there's nothing.
People like you guys, you don't get it, right? So like, why is this so special? It's so special because you're now talking to a CRM admin. Do you get it now? When Sam Altman said 2 years ago, it was around this time 2 years ago that he said, and I'll have to go pull the article. They were interviewing him and they were talking about like what the potential power was because like GPT-4 had just launched, and he said, yeah, I can see a point very soon where AI will be doing 99% of what the typical marketing agency does. And of course, everybody at the time, I posted it, I don't know how many times. Again, we've been trying to tell you guys about this stuff for I don't know how long now, but that's what you're encountering now. And again, this is something that I was saying was probably not going to launch until like the end of the year. I can guarantee you that HubSpot will have what's in my head for inbound, and it's going to blow you guys away.
Yep.
You're going to love it. I mean, you are going to love it. Your mobile app is about to become the most powerful CRM on the planet, right? Like that's from your phone. Like your phone's CRM mobile app will be ridiculous. Like your desktop version of it is going to be good too. Whether or not you will be, in my opinion, you will be interfacing with something like this, but it will be a desktop version of like a HubSpot Copilot type thing, right? And it's going to be the exact same. It'll be voice enabled and stuff, right? It'll have the same integrations because, I mean, so at the end of the day, right, we've been talking about like, does it matter? Because like, especially with MCP, that's a universal plugin. MCP is like Zapier on steroids, which Zapier already seemed like integrations on steroids. So basically it's on crack, right? because it can literally it can connect to Zapier, right? Like you can make a Zapier MCP. Like, so what? And so here's the thing: if you work remotely, you are essentially a digital agent. There's a TED talk that talks about this that came out a couple weeks ago. It's really enlightening. You guys should really check it out. There was actually Steve Jobs talked about this years ago when he was first talking about AI. He was talking about how people essentially are representations of digital software, right? And so what you're doing right now is you're talking to a person who works in your CRM. So yes, they can do all the same things that you would because you do them on your computer. So why can't it do those things too? Continue.
Well said. And just like, this is where, if you're not super familiar with HubSpot, but even if you are, like, there's nothing in HubSpot saying this is the event management system that we're using. It's just some objects that, of course, Happily has built to be an event management system. And what's happening here is Claude is understanding that that's what we're trying to accomplish with these 5 objects, right?
Shout out Happily.
And, oh, I see these 3 objects. That looks like a product order management setup. It's like, yep, these custom objects demonstrate a sophisticated implementation beyond the basic CRM functionality.
And I hate to pump the brakes again, but it's finding this out because we are structuring our CRM properly. Because the data that's in even this dummy portal is structured in such a way that an LLM, when I work with clients and they talk about like, oh, what's the big deal about naming convention? Like we get around, we figure it out, blah, blah, blah. Look, if your CRM were the back of a store, almost all of you would cry over trying to find the product that you were supposed to get for whatever you needed because you would never find it, ever. There would be the same things stored in 20 different places, right? Because that's what I see in most people's CRMs. Naming conventions for files, like all of this stuff. And the number one thing I tell people is, if I were to work at your company, I got hired tomorrow, and my job was to go into your CRM and do stuff, would I know what everything is just based off of looking at it? Would I understand what assets are based on looking at the names? Would I understand what objects are looking at the names? Do properties have the descriptions written in them? Is the data properly cataloged? The better it's cataloged, the better this person understands your system. The more accurate it is with handling your system. So if your data is like super clean in your CRM, like RevOps, the number one thing, RevOps better get into data management, right? You guys better really like start loving data management, aggregation, and cleanup essentially. And it's not cleanup in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I have to go back and relabel file. No, like that's going to get handled by the MCP. What you're going to do, your job is to strategize.
Yes.
Your job is to come up with how's the model going to look. Data modeling is the new RevOps. So that's basically, you were wondering where your job is going to transition to. Data modeling. You're going to be in charge of deciding how data flows through the CRM, which you already do. That's what you do. You decide how leads move through the CRM. You decide how deals move through the CRM. All you're going to do now is Fantasia that shit. You're just going to wave the magic wand over the MCP and tell it to do those things.
Yes, instead of
clicking,
like building your own stuff that you're just really bad at building. And this is why CRM has not been adopted more than 50% for 25 years. It is not set up to enable people to work, to enable data to flow all the way from first form fill all the way till the end without several unnecessary transformations of that same data just because we're typing it in over and over and we can't find it. So then we create a new property and all this stuff, right? I do want to point out, like, because we're still outside of a project. So the context it has are looking at my portal, and then it's training data set, understanding how people usually use HubSpot, or how things like line items are often brought up in this context. So you're still going to get stuff. If you don't give it any other context, which you're going to, like, right? That's the importance of the projects. It's the importance of how you prompt it, things like that. It says you have line items associated with deals, which indicates you're utilizing HubSpot's e-commerce capabilities to some degree. This is where, when Nico says RevOps, strategy, data modeling, it's your job to say, no, we don't have any e-commerce here. This is what it's used for. This is the role of this thing, of this object, in support of our business, right? Not in support of HubSpot working, right? In support of how our business, in support of how our sales team needs to see things, in support of how our service team needs to deliver things and fix things, right?
It's this odd thing where, like, because we are so very good at understanding these things already, this is what the machine lacks the context, right? But in order for the machine to be really good, it needs to take this just take it easy, guys. Take it easy. The machine needs to grow. It needs to grow up, and it needs to learn about the company. And so essentially, you are going to become sort of like the adoptive parent to all of these various company agents, and your job becomes raising the agent and teaching it about the CRM and teaching it about the company and how the objects interact with each other. Again, the data model. That's what it becomes, right? So that at the end of the day, like, so how do you here you guys want to talk about measurable results? This is probably the greatest measurable result you could ever have, right? Is when you start out with it, your model basically won't know jack shit about how your company operates necessarily. Like, it won't know the minutia, because we all know that there are, like, really just particular ways in which we handle doing things at particular times, even if everything seems the same. Because in the CRM, it doesn't matter which one it's looking at, right? It, to your point, it's seeing it as like the generic model. And it just assumes that you generically use these things for what it is generically defined to do. Right. So yeah, it's definitely, like, to Chris' point, like, that's what it's going to be all about. It's going to be all about you training models, essentially, right? In a very conversational, contextual way. One thing that it popped through my head, and this is something that I'm working on. So I just want to find out whether or not it's already destroyed. Can you do me a favor? Can you prompt it and tell it that the events thing was spot on, and that you're actually looking for help today to set up a new object because you're starting a side hustle for baked goods, and you want to set up a new custom object related to baked goods? Fuck my life if this goes through.
This assessment is spot on, Claude. Thank you very much. And I'm hoping to get some help from you. I'm starting a new side hustle related to baked goods. And if you can help me set up, the custom objects and some properties and anything else
Associations and relationships.
We need, like associations, relationships to the rest of the portal. That would be super helpful.
You guys don't understand. This is something that I was talking about, like, end of last year, that I'm like, yeah, pretty soon you're just going to be able to, like, generatively build out your CRM. Can you do me a favor? Can you hit control plus like 2 times? Thank you.
There we go. I've been wanting to know how to do that for a while. Sorry. All right. Loving where you're starting, Claude.
Oh, man.
Baked goods business data model.
I hope you guys are watching this.
First, let's create the core custom objects you'll need to and establish the relationships between them. So let's first set up a baked products custom object. All right. Baked products labeled
master
record of all bakery products offered.
Oh my God. Made a schema for it.
Creating our custom object structure for the bakery business. And if you don't mind pulling up HubSpot on your side,
Yep.
so that we can show this stuff. I see the challenge. We don't have the e-commerce scopes needed to create products directly. Let's instead create custom objects for our bakery business.
Okay, I was going to say, because I don't see the
Good
object.
news, though. I see you already have the orders object available. Surprise, folks. There is an orders object in HubSpot, native. Let's see if we can use the existing order system along with the custom objects. Let's create the property group first.
Okay, let me go look for that.
Create custom property for bakery orders. Look at this.
It's using orders. It is. It's creating them right now. And it's showing up as me because it's using my API key. This changes the game. I hardly ever use that term because of how important it is and how much people are like trying to water it down. You want to see game changing, you're looking at game changing. The game is changed officially. Officially. You can now not know anything about CRMs. Pretty much. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm saying like you don't have to know anything about the particular platform that you're using necessarily, like the technicalities of it in terms of the setup and all that kind of stuff. Like now you don't have to be afraid of like, oh my gosh, I have to set up this property. I don't know how to set up properties. Like, oh, but man, no, now you have this person that can go do it for you. I mean, look, guys, like you don't understand because like this is just a crumb to me. This is just a crumb. You don't understand like what we normally do when we get into this type of shit is, let's say, okay, so I'll just walk you through the steps. You have a business. You go through the normal rigors. You hire somebody, you get them set up. You set up your website. You've got your content. You've got some written content. You've got all that kind of stuff. You've got images and shit. Great. Now you're going to set up a custom Claude project. Probably go a step further. Set up a custom agent. Just do yourself the favor. Okay. Then you're going to MCP to the agent who has an MCP to your HubSpot. Okay. So, or you're going to build an interface to your agent that's going to MCP to your HubSpot. That's even better. And then what you can do from there is teach the agent about your business through going and looking at your website. Then you can go leverage Gemini and go do like deep research about all the other bakeries in your area. Go do deep research about the history of bakeries in your town. Go do deep research about the medical conditions in your town related to sugars and diabetes, right? Like you guys don't understand the level that I'm on when it comes to this type of stuff and leveraging AI to just destroy your marketplace, right? Then you can start looking up like how often people are buying baked goods, how many special occasions are happening in the area, all that kind of stuff. Boil all of that deep research down into your agent. Turn all of it into like just vector stores, right? Throw it all into actually, I don't know. You could go six and a half
properties created. I'm so happy.
Oh God, this is so ridiculous, man. Because like that's one thing, right? And then you have this agent built out, and then you just tell it, hey, go set up the CRM for my business. Right.
Now,
like
there's definitely some. Now, I'd say anything again, it's never going to be worse than it is today. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But this is where you think about your job and the mindset, like, and it shifts to making sure this stuff is right instead of saying AI can't do it. Right. So I need to do it as the human being because I know how to do it. There's some things that, we all struggle with that, like you can't, I want to see what this means and if it's real, because we know we can't associate products to whatever we feel like. Right. But we can do it with orders. So we'll go in and actually look in HubSpot in a moment to actually see what's going on here. Because like Sebastian says, if it pumps out this custom object, it is
Yeah,
wild,
dude. Yeah.
right? And then like, this is the part, right? And this is why it's different. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was like, well, it's just operator, right? And it's like, no, like any of the subjective like analysis, like business benefit stuff, right? Operator and stuff like that. And
That's just
Tango,
like it's a
right? It's just
person
go
and it's
do it,
great.
right?
Yeah.
It's just go do it. Get this done. Like, get this task done, and that's it, right? Maybe it can think in terms of, I tried to do it this way, so now and that didn't work. So now I can fix it, and I'm gonna try and do it this way. But it's not doing any kind of business analysis or any kind of, we actually don't want those tools to do like suggestive things like, I'm gonna do this and this and this too without you telling me to do
Right.
that. But this
Right.
is what conversational like means,
Yeah.
right? And of course you can set up Claude, and this is where we start to go into projects. And based on your level of knowledge of business and CRM and what you're trying to accomplish, you can turn it up the insights. You can turn like you can click that button that says, I don't want to see any more tutorials, right? I'm good, right? Or you can, if you need the tutorials, like embrace them, right? Because this whole business benefits thing, I would love for every single RevOps practitioner to be able to do this, right? And they can't a lot of the times,
Right.
right? And that's really where, if you cannot learn this part, right, your job is in jeopardy, because all the break fix stuff you do, like all the workarounds that you get you're so proud of, that you figured out how to make the APIs connect with each other, and how to, like, which is basically like things like iPass as a whole category.
Yep.
Like, that's gonna be gone because of things like this. And oh man,
Yep. Now,
so
this was great, and it did build the stuff out. I'm looking at the properties, and the properties are built into the different objects, so like they're definitely on
let's,
contacts.
can we show it on your side?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Let me pull that up real
Yeah.
quick.
And this is where, because this, like the flow of this, like the foundation, like next steps and recommendations. Now you as the human confirm, yep, I want to do that. Go for it, Claude. Right? Like, we'll add this guy to the stage. All right. If you could give us a couple control pluses.
Oh yeah, I thought I was already pretty far in. So you've got this is on contacts. Got our bakery dietary preferences, multi checkbox
Oh
built
my
out with our
gosh.
field types in there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, because why not, right? And guess what else you can do? Guess what else you can do? You can just go tell it, right? See, look at how it tested the property to make sure that it worked. It gave a contact that value. That's the only way you get a 1 there. Guys, you don't understand like the level this shit is on. You really, I hope you are now. Like, I know they were talking about like this summer being like an eye-opening experience. I guess this really, it's like it's come early, Christmas and May. You can just tell Claude, like, hey, can you add XYZ on there? Or can you remove vegan and nut free? And it will. That's how easy it is. Like, go ahead and tell it to make some change to any one of these properties while I'm looking through this stuff, and I guarantee you when I go back to look at it, it's gonna be in there.
All right. I'm gonna say which one is that?
Bakery order frequency. First time, occasional, regular, frequent,
Hey Claude,
subscription.
I see that you made this bakery order frequency property on the contact record, and I really like the idea, but I think it could be helpful to do some kind of color coding related to that property. So I'm curious if you can turn that property, if you can create some colors to help our team be able to tell, what's going on there.
This would be sick. Okay, so that's on contacts. On orders, we've got the bakery order types. In-store local catering. Like, I mean, and this happened just from an ask. A rando ask, one off, hey, could you? Like I said, this didn't involve the asinine amount of deep research that you could put behind this thing to figure out exactly what properties to build out, exactly what options you need to build out in them. You could figure out everything. If you were there will be so many startups this year. So many startups. You guys are like, oh my God, people are losing jobs. And you're watching the stupid shit on YouTube or MSNBC about like, oh, techies are losing their jobs. Wait for it. If I lost my job today, I'd have a startup tomorrow. Because I know exactly what I would be doing. And I have all of the tools that I need to do it. And oh my God, does it not matter now what it costs for HubSpot like Pro? I'll pay it because it's totally worth it. I know exactly what I need in order to leverage it. It's insane. Like, man, like I'm losing my mind on it. Okay, so we were doing bakery order frequency. We'll just do a refresh real quick. Okay. Now do you believe us?
So
now do you believe us, guys?
Wow.
It didn't even change like the option.
Well, that's where, so it didn't use the.
It put a icon or whatever.
HubSpot colored functionality. It used the icon, which arguably could be better in some cases.
No, I will actually argue and say this is the worst way. So again, to Chris's point, this is where being an admin matters, because that was a regular ask that a regular person would have made, and an admin going into this portal would have lost their friggin' minds. Why? Because now all of a sudden the label has this really odd space plus this odd underscore character. So it's actually, if you're trying to write to the label through an API, you need to write double underscore first dash time or whatever, right? Like otherwise leverage the internal name. But if you're trying to like change the label through custom coding or anything like that, now you've got this like odd thing to contend with, as opposed to if you were an admin, actually I'm supposed to just change it to text with a colored dot or text with, colored badge.
Yep. So I'm going to ask it to do that, but want to highlight this. This is the perfect comment from Sebastian here, right? Like,
Yep. I did it yesterday.
Your mind should be racing. Like everybody's mind, like we have not experienced anything like this. And this ability to iterate, like the human mind to be able to iterate without having to get distracted by doing the thing, right? Like that is such a big deal.
How many people, like, I don't even have to ask. I know how many of you out there are like admins or whatever. It doesn't even matter. You're in services or, you just use the platform altogether and you have ADD. And you go to make a change and 30 minutes later, you're figuring out why you still haven't made that change yet. But you had it in your mind, right? You know how we are. If we can just get it out there and get it done real quick, just do it so that we don't have to like try to hold on and think about it later, because you're going to forget it. And now you don't have to worry about that. Right? Like there are so many, this QOL, right? Like quality of life just skyrocketed for me, at least. If you're a HubSpot admin and you're not using this tomorrow, you are putting yourself at the end of the line. I'm not joking. This is the last warning. This is your last warning. If you're in RevOps or you're a HubSpot admin and you do not have this installed and at least have played around with it Monday next week, by the end of Friday next week, I can't help you come September. I can't. We'll all be on the train and you won't be. And I'll I'll be blown away. I swear, if I run into anybody in September and you still don't know what MCP is and you haven't used it yet, I'll be floored. I'll be so floored, and you'll see this look on my face of like, oh Jesus, you're about to lose your job tomorrow, because that's what's going to be going through my head. Like, seriously, guys, seriously, we've talked. Like, I know you guys have so underestimated, like, because we've been talking about it for a long time, and everybody hype. It's all hype. It's all hype. It's all bullshit. All right. Well, here it is. How much bullshit does it look like now? Right? Like, this is serious stuff. It's seriously changing the way in which we interact with software altogether, the way in which we do business altogether. Right? And I don't know why you wouldn't.
Property for me.
Oh yeah. What
while noting Sebastian agreed. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. You don't just give everybody the ability to do this without serious training, enablement, trust.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying. Like,
but that's even a use case that I didn't even think about. But how many people are just like, man, it'd be nice if we could just start over. Right?
Yeah. Clean it all up.
You could do that now. Like, and work with Claude
one for you
to like back it up.
Here's one for you. Let's see, because I don't think I've done this yet for good reason.
But I need you to go back to I asked it to revert to the old way of the property.
So you did the admin command for it.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Because what it told me, and this is what we expect and why we're testing this out and why it's in beta, is that based on the API access, it does not have the ability to change the colors inside of a property. But this is where, like, if I can, I'm gonna share my screen.
So option display mode is not part of the schema then for properties, I guess.
Right.
Or maybe, yeah.
So if we just go here, right? So worst case scenario, it can't do it, but it can tell us exactly how to do it. Right? Like, right next to the things it can do.
Right.
So, like, if you're starting and you're doing this stuff in the portals, like, you're just starting from so far behind where you could be starting. And that is just, like, for any leaders out there, and you're choosing to fear AI for whatever reason, and you haven't pressed the big button in the back of HubSpot that says turn the AI settings on because of all the reasons that you have, you are putting your teams in you're not putting them in a position to be successful for your organization.
No.
Right? And it's an egregious misstep on your part. And I get it. If you have fear, like, this is new territory for everybody, but it's your job to figure out what security needs to look like and what actually is possible. Because I guarantee HubSpot is not giving us the ability to do this all willy-nilly without worrying about security. So if you don't understand how it works, it's your job to understand, because it's so unfortunate when people are just afraid and they don't know how it works and they don't take the time. So it's like, instead of figuring out how it works and how to leverage it, we're just not going to worry about it right now and make everybody do everything from scratch, because we don't have the cojones to figure it out for our teams. And that's the thing. Like, not only is Nico in a position where if he left his job, or if
I was
if he lost his job, he's not planning to leave. Sorry.
No, God.
Get that part. If anybody loses their job tomorrow, they can start stuff up.
Yeah.
Those same people can make that choice proactively now, much easier than ever before. So that's where, if people know this exists and they've been like techies at heart or nerds at heart, and they know that typing in data over and over is just not the best way to do it anymore. It is so easy to just be like, okay, I'm gonna go do this the right way, right?
And you
And
know
that's
what
the
it
most
is, right?
common. That's the most common way that people get taken down in competitive situations, is that your lead engineer, your lead whoever, knows all the shit, and
And you
then
don't.
goes to start up their own company, right? And now it's not going to take them any time at all to start competing.
Mhm.
Don't do that. Don't
God,
put
imagine
them in a
how,
position to want to do
dude.
that.
Oh my God, that statement alone, right? Like, I like, I don't even know. Like, non-compete, like the legal around non-compete is going to change in a month. I'll bet you the legal around non-compete changes. I'll bet you a lot of enterprise. I guarantee you start seeing companies redoing their non-compete agreements, and it'll be going around like wildfire. And when you start hearing it, is when you should start flushing out that idea real fast, right? Like, IP is becoming a huge problem in that it's gonna go away, right? Like, IP has always been the dumbest thing to me, but it is what it is. Um, I understand people who say, like, oh, it's my idea. I should be able to protect my idea, this, that, and the other. Like, now it actually means something because now your idea can become a reality, right? But as a result of that, because it's on such a hyper individual, it went from being nearly impossible. To Chris's point, if you must be kicking yourself in the ass. This is what nerfing looks like. This is what nerfing looks like in real life. All of you guys that had just hit the finish line of, oh, got the website set up, got the CRM stood up. Man, it took me a while. I had to manually go do everything, but whew, got her done. Get her done. Good. Sorry. I can go do all of that tomorrow in one day.
And we're doing
What
it.
just took you months of work will take me one day. It'll take me another week on top of that just to fine tune it. Really? Like, it's not outside of that. I
And
don't
that's
know.
if you're on your own,
Right.
right? Like, once
Right.
you get other people engaged in doing this, that's why it's so fun for us to come together. And you add George, and like we just start ideating, and
Mhm.
wow, shit starts to happen. It's just amazing, and how fast you can go, right? And this is where, again, it's humans and AI collaborating. So the humans are there, like double checking, like gut checking. So not only like objective, subjective, emotionally, however you want to look at it, it's like
Mhm.
feels right, doesn't feel right. All that stuff starts to come together, and you can leverage the humanness so much more, because you don't have to be like, okay, well, let me go. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go into the HubSpot and see what I can build. Let me build a few of these properties. Let me add some reports. Let me look at
Yep.
it and see if it's gonna make sense. And then I'll come back. We'll get back together in an hour, and then we'll see. No,
Right.
we will let Claude do it in 60 seconds and
Mhm.
then look at it together. That, like, context switching from a team collaboration perspective, like, oh man. So I think as we talk through this, like, the next milestone that we need to get to is this team usage of things like Claude, like GPT, like this consistent adoption of, hey, if the three of us, let's say the marketing leader, the sales leader, the service leader, all have the ability to work out of the same Claude project to say, okay, this is what I need to do in the HubSpot, like over and over in the
Mhm.
HubSpot. What am I, like 65 years old? Um,
In the
uh,
HubSpots.
Oh man. Just that collaborative like iteration and building on the same foundation, like all the alignment issues that we've always had, like just goes out the window because everybody can start to focus on their customers, both internally and externally. Like, this is what my team needs. This is what my customer needs, like over and over and over. And since we're all doing it in the same space, um, oh, now let me show like just we'll see how this goes. I like selfishly want to get this set up, but also super relevant, not a random
The
hypothetical
assistant. Yeah.
bakery situation. Right. So just to give you some context, executive assistant. Thanks for Kieran for prompting me to build this at some point a few months ago. And so I've done some stuff where it's like, okay, I've got to, you know, I'm trying to start up this daily routine and like at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, like project management is my biggest weakness, like far and away. Right. So that's where I'm even learning, like if HubSpot is a database layer, right, at this point.
Mhm.
So if I create an object that is like, or I use stuff like tasks, and like every output that I work through with Claude now goes into HubSpot. Instead of having to update a document or a separate project management system, you start to leverage the data foundation that gets built up, right? So this is a project that is designed to help me do that. And so it's got some profoundly stuff, it's got some value first stuff, uh, including specific types of projects that I try to help, clients with. Um, so I'm going to ask, because I've been thinking about doing this. This is where it's like people, I think a lot of people, you look at HubSpot, you're like, oh man, do I buy the project management system? Or is there a way for me to use HubSpot to support project management enough to support what I need? Because we don't want a Microsoft project. We've all heard about that. We've seen the horror stories. We might have even had to use it in our past. We don't want anything that complex, but we need something that is keeping track of our tasks in a place where everybody else can see it without adding a bunch of other licenses in there, right? That was
Mhm.
always the hurdle that I could not get past when establishing new project management mechanisms, right?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna ask now, just out of the gate, just to show like the differences in context. Um, like I'm gonna start with, let's start with the exact same um chat here. Maybe. There we go. All right. Let's start with the exact same chat and see how um Claude responds in this other project.
This is great just to show, like you say, like a difference,
Right. And
like we were talking
now
about before, difference between
I'm
a
gonna I'm
sorry.
gonna add in context, right? And it's got all the context, and now we're gonna see, what happens. Sorry to cut you off, Nico.
No, 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 you're good. Um, yeah, because it's like this is now a fine-tuned employee that has greater context to Chris, as opposed to before we were literally just could think of it as like asking somebody off the street. Yeah,
This is
no joke.
where
Like that's
he
how I
starts
would compare it.
he starts to take a liberal approach to how he starts defining the
This is
acronym
the
MCP. That's where it's like, yeah,
Oaks.
maybe it can be like acronyms are the damn problem, folks, not not the AI
Right,
in this
right.
case, right? Okay, great news. I can confirm portal ID, connection details, access to a wide range of HubSpot permissions and scopes. Seems to be associated with Nico. List objects, connection status fully operational, data access. Of course, it's focused on these three. And that's where this is how powerful status quo and like the training data is, no matter how many times. Because here's what I'm going to do now. And because at this point, so I'm already, and this is where the learning curve is important. Like you can only get to this point as you work with the AI, right? As you start to collaborate, you start to understand where the gaps are, right? So I have a document that lists all the HubSpot native objects and gives them a purpose, right? So I'm gonna add that here and say, I appreciate that you've confirmed that contacts, companies, and deals are in place, but super curious based on the attached document of HubSpot native objects, if you can do an audit of my portal and maybe include some of the context you have in your knowledge base of this project as well, specifically how we might relate to the value first scoping project that I help clients with in relationship to ERP integration and and e-commerce integration, stuff like that. Does that make sense? Uh,
I've made the most ridiculous request. I kind of forgot that I could prompt on
Yep.
my end while you're doing yours. The one that I'm doing, this one's for you, Sebastian.
Oh, I gotta share my screen here.
Oh, this is so sick. All right, so what did you I'm sorry, I forgot. Change the ticket object. Yeah. Oh man. With the value first. Oh, that's so sick.
And so this is where, so now so my document, the HubSpot native object document has HubSpot objects separated into these groups, right? And what we're seeing is that the MCP currently doesn't have access to all of the things, right? But what we anticipate, and this is where a lot of the commerce stuff is being not redeveloped, but developed to support the cash flow acquisition and the implementation and all the new things that they're going to be doing. So it's in a very fluid state, and not probably. Also, it's revenue stuff, so you don't throw that out into the wild as easy in betas. So likely not accessible through the MCP yet. And we see support and success, right? So object library, we often run into, some limitations there. And a lot of times with the object library stuff, like appointments, listings, services, right? It's simply like all these teams are moving at like light speed. And sometimes you just have to let the product teams know, like, hey, this is not connected, and it's just a few minutes for them to go connect. Here we've got our custom objects, and just so like not to confuse, and this is where I'm ripe to confuse, just like any human admin, just like any human agency, I would ask to come in and audit this. Be like, what the hell? Why do we have customer orders and orders?
Right.
What's going on here? Well, customer orders was developed to support stuff before orders was around a year ago, right? Like, so as you work through these things, like, not only can Claude or this system highlight any kind of overlap, discrepancy, duplication like that for you very quickly, but I would move forward and ask it, okay, how do we, especially at the object data model level, how do we start to clean that up in an effective way that doesn't wreck like data in the portal? Like, how can I move from using customer orders as as a custom object to having everything in the new native orders object, right? And doing that successfully. So our value first analysis here. Got our event management system again. Again, I cannot overstate, like, there's nothing in the contextual database, like the stuff that I'm talking about, that says, oh, I have an event management system built out in my HubSpot and it comprises of these objects. Like, no, it's making that distinction on its own, right? Commercial transactions, project delivery. So based on the value first framework, here are key opportunities to enhance natural value flow, connecting orders and deals, right? Event value, deliverable tracking, service delivery, and then strategic recommendations. This is where, if you've been in the game for a while, like, you can be so far in front, so much faster of anybody that hasn't been productizing their services, or not understanding how to use, like, all those people, basically, I'm just gonna say it, that have been treating HubSpot as a lead management and email marketing platform only. If you've been doing it in a different way and leveraging the rest of HubSpot, man, you can be so far in front quickly. Like, instead of, why I'm saying that, like, instead of trying to protect your IP, right? Or think that you're going to be the only place to get that information about how you build out HubSpot in the special way. No, like, you're not the only place to get that. And it just takes somebody asking Claude one time, hey, I want to do this thing in HubSpot. What does that look like? And then it's going to tell you what that could look like. And then you can just say, okay, yeah, can you build that for me? And then it's going to do that. And then, so instead of protecting your, like, instead of holding on for dear life, like, start to leverage it, right? Start to help people understand that they can do these things. And then when they engage you, you're coaching them, you're helping them do it themselves, because that's what HubSpot is built to do. Oh man.
That's just something else, bro. That's something else. Telling you.
All right. So next steps recommendation, complete native object implementation, object association mapping. This is what actually, let's show that before we show your screen. Value flow visualization. We haven't shown any of that, man. But,
oh yeah.
right.
So that's the thing, is like a lot of this stuff too, right? Is people just not knowing the Claude platform. It's not just like us showing like MCP, right? So go ahead and ask Claude to give you a visual map of the data model.
I love these next steps, Claude. Thank you for taking a look at the HubSpot portal. And I really love your suggestions for visualization, because I think that'll help people understand, that'll help me understand kind of what all we need to do to support, value first projects. But when you say visualization and mapping, like, what does that even look like? Can you just show me some examples?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I'm gonna have to build my own MCP specifically for this reason. I'm telling you, it's nuts. It's nuts, right? Boom. I mean, look, it's not the prettiest thing in the world either, right? But
But come
at the same
on.
time, yeah, like you have, you know what I mean? Like you go from nothing to having an idea of what at least the flow, the visual might look like. Never mind the arrows in between and shit like that. Just, you have a structure, right, to go off of. And if you've seen any of the videos that I've released in the last 48 hours, you know that you can take this, turn it into mermaid script, take that into whatever Miro or Lucidchart or whatever it is that you use, and you've got you've got your chart done. And I don't know if you guys have worked with Mermaid before, but it's just a markup. It's extremely easy. So like even once you get it in there, it's almost easier to edit by text than it is to, even if you had to make the edits, right? You could just excuse me, you
Yep.
could just ask Claude and say, hey, can you just change this to have it be over here, change the color of this, add a legend in here that explains these things. It'll do all of it.
Yep. And usually, like I think because I made a lot of emphasis on the visualization,
Mhm.
it chose to go the image route. If I would have put more emphasis on the mapping part, it would have given me, it's very likely would have given me a mermaid diagram. Because that's what I'm used to seeing, but we'll see what the value flow diagram looks like here. Oh, wow.
Alrighty then. That's way more.
Customer
think-
journey mapped to our object architecture.
Jesus.
I've wanted this stuff to happen for a while. And usually it has trouble making it legible, right? You get a lot of, I mean, there's so much complexity to diagrams like this. And this tells me like right away, since I've been using it for like a year now, it's getting better. It's getting better at doing stuff because more people are using it. This is one of the better. And now, like, oh man. Like seriously, if I just, I'm not shining, right? Like this is me doing it like a couple years ago, where it's like the journey of the customer up here, on CMS Hub. We're using, different pages, right? And then they're accessing a delivered portal. And then what do the objects need to look like? This is like the very human version of connecting the journey to the object model, right? And now, like, which most people don't like looking at the visual that I had up, unless you're like a data nerd and you like digging in that and you don't need the visual story, right? And me, like I've always had a challenge, like, okay, how do I represent this, right, in a better way to kind of, man,
Yeah. So that people can, easily understand it, right?
right? And now here's what I've been waiting this whole time. Are we ever gonna hit limits? Right. So finally we do. We're just gonna check out a couple. Actually, while we check out the couple, let's say, hey, go ahead and continue.
Do what you're
And
gonna do.
it's gonna continue. All right. I'll complete the association mapping. All right, I can't wait to see that. Okay. HubSpot implementation roadmap. Okay.
Telling you, like it's the game's changed.
With zero, like
Game's
now.
changed, man.
Okay, let me be fair. Let me just double check.
What?
Because this is where I'm in the executive assistant project. I've got some templates for how I like to do projects. But it's still using that. Like, I don't use words like MPS tracking, renewal system, sequences, service hub, automation. Like, my focus and what I tell people, and this is why 95% of any integration project, any data cleanup project, any migration project, any damn setup of HubSpot, get the data model right. Like, data model and process map. Stop worrying about the tools, because here's what you figure out: the data model and the approach, and now it's gonna bam. Like, and I had no idea what it was gonna show me like this time when I just asked for visualization. That's why I asked it that way, right? I am super cautious to over bias Claude and over bias AI, and to suggest that I think I know the best way to do all the things, right? So that's why I like to say, hey, what do you
Let's see
mean?
yours.
Like, can you give me some examples? Right. And this is crushing the expectations I had in any response that I could think of that it was going to give me. Like, this is beautiful. Even with, oh man, wow, this is where we're going to take it. I learned this one from Bill Barless, because I'm not a project management guy. Right. So it's harder for me to ideate into project management like things. Right. But what you can see here on the bottom, maybe I would zoom in a little bit, because Claude has an amazing interface where we can just zoom in very easily, and drag around. Like, come on, like, we see status completed, status in progress, not started. Not. I'm like, oh, can I make this into an interactive thing? Like, what if we
Yeah.
wanted to use this as project management? We'll get there.
Yeah.
But so here's what it looks like, halfway. I can't even, like, even though this is halfway, usually like it's the error, or
Right.
you see half the code, right?
Yeah.
So I'm liking this, but we asked it to continue. We
Sure.
look at, hello, here we go. Now we know we're getting some complexity here.
A little bit.
Overlapping. But that's sort of like in the beginning when we were doing this, when we were learning how to use these tools.
But I'll
You
bet
try
you if
to
you stretch it
explain.
out, like grab the divider in the middle and stretch it out a little bit. No,
Yeah,
okay.
it's,
I was wondering if it had built like flexible modules or
by
not.
the way, folks that like to hard code all your shit, like, this is what happens when you try to hard code everything. And that's how we approached it. That's how I approached it in the beginning. Now I would come over here and sit and explain what I need to be fixed. It didn't take me very long to see that I was not good at doing that. I was not good at that troubleshooting. So in a minute, I'm going to show you what I do instead, because it then walks me through all these diagrams and why, like, what it's supposed to be doing for me, right? How to use these visualizations. Oh man, like, okay. So instead of, oh man, this is why we do it behind the scenes, right? We just get to take a minute and enjoy, and not feel like I have to talk constantly because I'm on a live show. But here's what I'm going to do, because this is it. It doesn't know that it's hard for me to read this,
Right.
So I'm just going to screenshot it. Let's say, hey, good effort. Would you like me to focus on any specific aspect of these visualizations or create additional examples? So I'm going to add the screenshot. First of all, this stuff is brilliant. And thank you so much. These are some great examples. But with your HubSpot object association map, it's pretty hard to read. You can see in the screenshot, we got text overlapping all over the place. So I'm wondering if you can clean that up in some way, and feel free to use a different format if it needs to be interactive, like a React module maybe, or whichever way you need to go with it. It doesn't look like static image will be the best way. So I'd
Clean
love to
UI.
see what you come up with.
Sebastian, I want to keep you on the edge. Long story short, it's basic. It's it's only limited by whatever APIs we have access to, right? So unfortunately, there is no API to create a custom object. Um, so like that's one thing that you do have to manually do. But after the custom object's been created, then you can go to town on the properties. But again, you hit this roadblock with associations between the custom object and other objects. So you do have to again manually go in there and make those associations. But then after that, you can do with the records whatever you please. So there is like
So
a
it
little
didn't.
bit of manual still.
So it couldn't create the bakery stuff earlier.
So yeah, like it won't be able to create a custom object out the gate. But so here's the thing. Where the MCP is limited, I now am going to guarantee you that developers will just be like pounding down Dharmesh's door to unleash the API for it. Right? Because it's like, oh, okay, well, that's annoying that I can't do a custom object, but I can do everything else. So when are we going to get the custom object API? Right? Or that's annoying. I can do custom objects and I can do properties, but I can't do the associations. When are we going to get the object associations API? Right? Like that's all you're going to see that like from now on. And I told my wife this like a year and a half ago. I didn't quite know how, but I just knew that API keys and tokens were going to be like the new form of like currency and how people do business and stuff. And like, oh, it's a much better attempt for sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously you can see, hopefully you can see like a few iterations here, and you can get some really powerful, you get to where you want to go. Right.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like working with, the human being that might have been developing this, for you. Right. You have to be clear on what you want, and what the problems are. Right. So, you've got some stuff on your side. Do you want to show it?
I did. It was basically just just that. Like I was trying to set up a custom object, but then it realized that it can't do that. But again, gives you the steps on how to create the custom object, what to name it, what the plural name should be, what the description should be. Even though I went with my own name there. What you want to put for the primary display properties. So like it's like this thing where it's like oddly enough all the stuff that you would need to know in order to create the custom object, like it can still guide you through doing that. Everything that's in this pane where you might normally be intimidated, right? So if you think about it from like first time user perspective or whatever, and you know that you need to set this up, maybe you don't know you need to. The what I really loved about the what you showed earlier was the fact that it told you out the gate, like, hey, because you want to do this thing, there's already an object that can facilitate this. So we actually don't need to complicate your CRM further by creating a custom object. We can leverage the one that's native to the platform, right? Which allows you to then leverage native native reporting and stuff as well, right? So after having created the custom object, though, then it can go in and it can create all of the, I didn't ask it to do all this. I just said like, hey, it's done. So go ahead and create the additional properties for me. So all the properties that it had suggested up here, initially I said, hey, go do some research and a lot of stuff. And it actually maxed out the conversation before it even started building anything. This time around, it basically, I wanted to rely on whatever information it already knew natively about aeronautical engineering to create the names for the properties and like what types. So it was just nice to see it just like blaze through and just blow out property after property. And then I asked it to try to make the association between the aeronautical custom object and the other objects, and came back and it's like, I can't do that, but you can go you can just go click through the menu and here's how you can go set it up. So yeah, it's it really is like, I don't know, it's pretty astounding to me, that it's able to do what it can for now. Even still, like, so from an admin point of view, man, like, a lot of your so much of your heavy lifting, especially if you do configurations, just a ton of your heavy lifting is out the window now. Um, if you do if you're on sales or service, like, especially sales, for those of you guys that are, like, mobile a lot, this is now, like, your saving grace. 'Cause I can't imagine how annoying it must be to, like, meet with a client, then have to jump on your laptop to then jump in your CRM to be able to do the update to whatever it is. Well, now you could basically have an agent that's set up with an MCP connection to your, CRM, and then you just go on your phone, fire up your agent, naturally talk to your agent and tell it what it is you need it to do. You review the text to make sure that your message is going through properly, and then just sit there and hit send and bing, bang, boom, right? Like, that's how, like, it's supposed to be that easy, right? We try to do it in a UI sense that way. That's why sales workspace exists, right? It's service workspace. That's why all of those things exist, is because they are huge, massive simplifications of the overall CRM. And props to them, because I mean, like, the workspaces versus the CRM interface, like, natively, for somebody that doesn't know, like, I thought the HubSpot CRM was pretty awesome in and of itself for somebody that doesn't know CRM software. It's very inviting, it's fairly intuitive, but they do keep changing the UI a lot. Um, and so having that workspace is actually really nice, that you can, like, nail someone down to, like, hey, here's your dashboard where you're supposed to live. And all that's brought together. This is now that in your pocket, in the palm of your hand, right? Like, obviously on your PC, but or on your laptop. But even in terms of, like, finishing a meeting, and so, like, if you're nerdy enough, you could even shortcut having an agent by having a remote desktop from your phone to your desktop computer, and just have fire up Claude and just tell it, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, I can connect the dots. I can see how it's going to happen. So to me, if HubSpot's uh, mobile app doesn't have this, like, in the next few months, it's going to be weird to me, for sure. It's going to be
Yeah.
weird. Because it just
And
makes sense that this is the new way of doing it. And Claude is about to have voice mode, right? Like, I mean, it does have voice input now, but it doesn't have voice output. It's about to have voice output. So it just makes natural sense that, yes, you're going to be having a full on verbal conversation with an agent that represents your CRM.
yep. And this is the kind of thing that we're gonna start seeing. Like, because some of us practitioners, or some of us you know, um, evangelists of
Hmm.
HubSpot, the people that are helping the other people, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. Uh, our HubSpots aren't always the greatest. And now, since we have this knowledge and we can connect these dots, um, he says in a follow up here, the admin work has just been sped up by 100x.
Yeah.
But look at this ability. And that's what I want to get to next. Like, you have to think, but coming at it from a place of like, okay, if I were starting from scratch, like, what am I actually trying to accomplish with these systems? Right. Um, and so for real, like, so yesterday, right, I was in a chat, like, when I say start with the business processes, the data model, like, that's what I was doing yesterday, like, starting to
Mhm.
understand, like, okay, so I've attached the current native objects to help you understand the current data model. Uh, at the beginning of this, I said, trying to use Claude, um, Google, and HubSpot only, right? That means HubSpot itself will have to act as these things, right? Um, and I said, what really hasn't been done before is using it like a project management platform. Um, by the way, most people can't describe why you can't use it like that. Whenever I ask them, they're just like, "Oh no, like You can't do that stuff in HubSpot. Like, it's just not a project management platform, obviously. It's like, okay,
Really?
well, tell me exactly what is missing. And
Right.
that's usually a fail. So HubSpot is the unified operating system integration strategy, system role alignment. When you're integrating systems, please start with the role of each system, like in your processes. So HubSpot, the business data foundation, centralized repository for all customer, commercial, and operational data. Why? Because it's got structured data management with relationship modeling. Key function maintains a single source of truth, enables unified reporting, automation, and process management across domains. What can Claude do? Why are we involving Claude? Well, it's better at recognizing patterns, insight generation, strategic guidance. Strategic guidance from something outside of your organization is often one of the number one values of a consultant. Is just the fact that they exist outside of your organization. Transforms raw data into actionable intelligence. Provides the cognitive capabilities traditional systems lack. I love it. Google Workspace, the collaboration hub, real-time document creation and team collaboration, familiar interface with powerful content creation tools, enables fluid knowledge work and communication. The key thing that's not highlighting here, like the email layer, like don't sleep on that part, because if you get notification emails from anywhere else, like any other system that you can't plug into with Claude yet, if you get notification emails from those systems, now Claude can see it. And it can almost be like, obviously we can't use Claude to make things happen in those systems, but we can get a crystal clear understanding of what is happening. Before I plugged in HubSpot and I was doing these dailies, the first time I plugged it into my Gmail, it was like, yep, and also 4 contacts were created today. And these are who they are. And it's like, wait a second. Oh, it's seeing the notification email from HubSpot. And that was just like man, you could set up your notifications in a way that all the systems can talk to Claude through the email layer, right? And that kind of context, when we say like the importance of plugging in to all the data and all the systems, right? That's what we're talking about. But what does project management look like? Using native object strategy. And this is where I'm like, come on, Claude. I thought I taught you better than that, bro. Of course, because that's how the free world has done it. He starts off with a deal suggestion as the project container, right? So right away, I'm like, all right, let's move past this. Of course, all he's got is tickets, line items, companies. And this is where I think I say, and just like you would any colleague, challenge the understanding. This is great on the surface, but it feels like you didn't even look at the native object doc that I gave you. All right, please review that. Go back and review that, and then come back. All right, so native object-driven architecture, core data model for project management, the service object. Yes, that's what I wanted you to start with. So that's a flag that we're headed in the right direction. We've got service, we've got deliverables, appointments, tickets, orders, right? And then here's all the initiatives. For Let's Build Media, there's a media focus, right? Let's use the objects that make sense for like the media company, right? Conveying your message, that's the HubSpot partner doing stuff. Okay, maybe we're using these objects instead. And these are the purpose, right? Track commercial agreements for implementation work. Nailed it. Profoundly. What are we doing over there? Oh, that's Profoundly is a marketplace and media. Like we're using these different, like, come on, man. Like this is glorious. And what I didn't do yesterday, because I didn't have MCP set up, because I waited for you fine folks to join us for our Saturday session to set up MCP. The next step here is like, okay, start to set it up. Like, so let me get to the end here and say, this is where, like, as you're learning, take great care. And just like, again, back to the human to human stuff. If you're in the middle of a conversation and the context changes and you know it, and the person you're talking to doesn't, right? They're just going to keep going, like, in their conversation. So when you start a chat, that's like, it takes in all the context in that moment, including knowledge base and anything you're attaching. And that's the framing that it's working in. So yesterday when I started this, it didn't have access to MCP. It didn't have the connection to HubSpot. Now, I would be taking a chance that if I just assumed that it knew it now mid-chat, there's a good chance it tries to answer questions without checking the HubSpot, right? So now I'm going to say, great news, Claude. We've got the HubSpot MCP hooked up and connected, and I think you'll be able to help me build a lot of this stuff out in the Let's Build demo portal. Can you confirm that you see this connection and let me know what next steps we would take?
This is hilarious. Sebastian, this is so good.
See, and now.
Oh my God.
Oh, so it did. It took a moment. I thought I was going to have to push it a little bit. But this is exactly why I do this, right? At the beginning of this conversation, it did not have it, right? So that's where its frame of reference is, unless I'm going to highlight it, right? So I don't have direct access. Just kidding. I do. Just check to make sure. I explore existing native objects. Implementation plan. Here we go. Finally. And this is because I've told it and I give it documentation that says, don't stop coming at me with these like 3 to 6 month plans. Like, it doesn't take you that long to work, man. So 2 to 3 days. And again, this is where it's like, a lot of this happens because we don't have full connectivity and full agent mode yet. I've got to do these prompts. But this is the kind of stuff that, you know, just last year, we were so excited to talk about huge migrations that were getting done in like 90 days. Like, people were so happy with that speed, right? And now it's like, no, like, what? That's where when we approach this from like the expectations of the customer, but the expectations of anybody at this point, to start from a place of, well, how long do you think it should take? Like, you have no idea. Like, I'm not going to believe your answer at all. How much should it cost? How many hours? Like, all that stuff. If you're not rethinking that, you're not understanding the tools at your disposal right now. Sebastian asks, is there an easy way to set up an MCP to be able to look?
For HubSpot, I actually haven't.
So at the beginning of this thread, Sebastian, that's where I started, actually, because I am connected, at least, you know, about the Let's Build, the Profoundly portal, the Conveying Your Message portal. And if I'm asking this executive assistant to help me juggle all three, it's suggested it should be possible. And I would imagine this is just 3 different HubSpot MCP entries, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the different private keys.
Yeah, you just have to name them differently, obviously.
Yep. And you're just making sure it's clear on which one. And I might be able to like show at the top where I did that. And system's working hard right now, so there we go. Of course, keep that in mind, like as you're using this new stuff, like the processing required, like, and just the adding all the tools in. Like, we're not quite at the spot where it's like no matter what computer you have, you can just add all the things. Like I ran into it yesterday doing an unboxing of the video marketing, platform in the Content Hub, right? That now has video editing inside of HubSpot, folks. But naturally, when I was clicking some buttons, like, all right, let's clip it up. Like the mouse everything started to slow down, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, if you've ever worked in Adobe, like, and done any, like, once you get to the video editing part, and it's like, all right, shut everything else off.
Yep.
Because I can't, like, we just got to focus the system, right? Or that's why that person on the team needs a better computer than everybody else. Just accept it. So surprise, you add video editing inside of the HubSpot platform. There was some slowdown moments, right? Because I didn't do anything to shut off everything else. And, so just be mindful of the system you have working for you. But we've got a nice little phased out implementation here. Integration. We've got, see, that's where these connections are already set up. The one thing we'll note is at the beginning of this, I was trying to trigger the HubSpot MCP process, trying to figure out how to do that. And I asked if I could use the HubSpot integration with Anthropic using the Ask Anthropic workflow action. So if anybody's curious there, this is completely separate from the HubSpot Claude integration at the moment. That one takes advantage of direct access to the Claude console that you set up to just use Claude via API. So we have next steps. Let's build projects pipeline. Okay. Are you seeing this on your side? Can you pull up HubSpot on your side? I'm curious.
Okay.
Because I think it's trying to set up service pipelines.
Yeah, see, I don't think that it can. Yeah.
But it can see the pipelines available.
Right. Yeah, but
right.
that's why, like, I got as far as I did with the aeronautical thing. And if you go into that object, the pipelines for that are not set up. And you can't, like, that's not an endpoint, right?
Yep. But speaking of, like, if anybody's proud of doing workarounds, like, Claude is trying workarounds here as it runs into these
Wait,
barriers.
no, you should be able to, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you're on enterprise. Yeah, ask it. Tell it to set up the pipelines.
Right. Well, it was trying to here. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, but it got locked up on associations.
Well, can you see here? Can I add you to the stage?
For which one?
Let's for deliverables and services.
Yep.
like go to, yeah, let's see which different pipelines are available, if there's any. All right. And go back to deliverables. So those are, I already had a bunch in there.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
from what I've experienced, if it comes back and says like can't like it hasn't finished something at the end result, it's almost like the other stuff doesn't get committed. It's kind of weird. It's almost like it's storing those changes and not quite making them until it can actually finish. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've run into that before where like it'll say it's doing a bunch of stuff and then it hits another thing, but then it can't complete that thing. So it's like the rest of it didn't even happen,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. It's kind of fail safe.
Right. So we've got, so what you're suggesting is it should be able to create a custom pipeline,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So this is where sometimes it just needs a little push.
Mhm.
And we'll say create a media production pipeline. Say, okay, can you double check and just try again? I think you should be able to create that media production pipeline. And if you can't in services, in the services object, try and set it up in the deliverables object instead. Okay. Is Whisper starting to like refine my grammar
Yes.
and stuff?
Yeah. It basically learns over time.
That's interesting.
Yeah. If you add inflections too, it'll do it. It'll characterize the text. It'll make it like italic, or it'll put it in, if you do like, yeah, and he said blah blah blah, it'll put like whatever you said as that in quotes. Like it is really nice, honestly. Okay, let's create a new, there we go. Create a services record. Pipeline. Okay. To the API directly.
There we go.
That's weird.
So it's not able to do it. This is where I'm assuming like service, like the object library objects could be limited.
Maybe.
Services being one of them. But before it goes to create it in the deliverables, it checks the existing pipelines to see if there's a match. And it's like, hey, I see there's a video content pipeline available. Let's
Should
try
we
to
just
use
use that?
that. And then it runs into an error. Let's try creating a full set of deliverables for our LinkedIn Live project using different pipeline stages for each.
Oh, yeah, see, so it's like it's trying to make.
We've successfully created service records to represent media projects. Can you see that on your side? I can pull this up too.
I can see like deliverables. I could see that it created deliverables, but I don't see media projects.
Yeah. So go to services. Yeah. So it created a media project, LinkedIn Live series.
Yeah.
Right. It created that. And then it said we've created deliverable records with the specific content types and statuses.
Oops.
So now this is where I get out of, like, go to all pipelines, get out of
Yeah,
board view.
basically.
and go to all pipelines. Yeah. So all those 5 LinkedIn Lives are new.
Mhm.
And they should all be in the video content pipeline. So if you change the pipeline to video to go back and change to video pipeline for video content. There they are.
I did a fake run-in with Sebastian, and initially told it your current spot, and basically said that we were going to have a meeting on Monday. And so it went and did a search for you on LinkedIn, a couple different types, obviously. But then gave it your company, so it kind of knew how to like search for that. But then it made a confusion thinking that Higher Ops was the bakery, and like I might have, I misspoke basically. So it got confused about it, but still added you to the CRM. And then like one of the things that we didn't show earlier is that if you connect it to your Google services, right, it goes and looks to make sure that I have time available on Monday and that like I'm not booked up. So then it goes ahead and goes back into HubSpot, creates the engagement for the meeting. And so then later I said, yeah, you know what? Actually, he's at human.ai. So human. And so update the record accordingly. So then it went, looked at your company, pulled specific information from your consulting business, and went to the actual website. We need to do that ourselves. And then went and updated all the objects, updated the engagement notes. Okay. So now I have an understanding before we get together of like who you are, right? I don't have, we all know we're super busy. So it's like, who's this guy again? Um, then updated the company name, updated the meeting, and what now it corrected it. So it's like, oh, we're meeting with him about the bakery thing. And then so I was like, yeah, definitely we're meeting about that. And so I've never worked with investors before, play just a scenario. New at this, so can you give me some information? This is what I was talking about earlier in terms of like adding research as a background to the context of what it is that you're doing, right? So because I'm telling it that I'm coming from this very like amateur aspect, it goes and does the research for me, right? That I will need in order to convince you to invest in my business, right? So it goes and looks at investment opportunities, goes and looks at baking trends, digital transformation information, right? Comes back and gives this growth potential sort of like portfolio outlook of like, hey, here's what I can talk to Sebastian about in terms of like what things look like going into the future and how it's worth his time to invest in my bakery, right?
Perfect timing for
Perfect timing.
AI integration in bakeries.
Come on, Sebastian, let's do it, buddy. Specific AI applications in bakeries, right? Because I'm sure that there's like automated machines to help me out, and then there's automated services that can take care of like inventory and stuff like that.
Well, of course,
Recipe innovation.
My mind goes into Star Trek mode and just developing a business that's like, whenever we're ready to materialize the baked good in front of you,
Yeah.
like we're going to be ready with that business, folks.
Here's my compelling investment case. Why I'm worth taking a chance on.
Oh man.
Some final persuasive points.
Let's talk beyond the money.
Tailor to Sebastian's specific interests. So like, let's see. If you had to turn it into a speech, what would it look like? Right? Because now I can practice my pitch, right? Obviously, this, you know what? This really isn't the way that I would say it. So I'm just gonna go in here real quick, add a little style, and tell it to narrate like me instead. I'll come down to the bottom and just retry that real quick. Oh man, the extended chain. I don't like using the extended thinking for stuff that isn't process related. I've noticed that basically what you're doing is you're forcing it to overthink about the problem, and it's not good.
Yeah.
Really don't have good results from it.
The fusion of dough and data.
Yeah, it's definitely like more. It's more my style of how I,
Yeah.
how I would talk to you. What if bakeries just, just like this is yeah? Because
Data
I've
engines.
given it so much like background on how I write, what I talk like, and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Finnish bakery partnered with IBM to implement similar AI systems, transforming their 172-year-old business with modern forecasting capabilities.
Japanese snack producer,
Man,
like it's able to pull stuff for me. Like if you were going on, if if Shark Tanks is still a thing, if Shark Tank is still a thing, it blows me away if people aren't going there with this like fully practiced, like in their pocket, just ready to go, right? With like all of this as like almost quiz information or something like that. Um, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Like it's to me, it's
well,
nuts.
I'll sit tight, folks, because we are not going to stop with this kind of content like until we're sure everybody is using it.
Mhm.
Um, and this is where what we're seeing, like the Congress, hearing that happened this week, and when you see politicians start to talk about this stuff like they have any level of knowledge, and you start to see all these major companies. We talked about the AI, buying stuff from Visa.
Mhm.
Like that's what we're talking about. This is not 2 years, 1 year down the road.
Right.
This is right now, months away from ultimate connectivity. Like by inbound talking to your CRM, the way we're talking to Claude right now. I love Sejal's phrase yesterday, and I can't stop using it. HubSpot everywhere. Basically, you could replace the word HubSpot though, like with whatever this ultra connectivity to use whatever you want to use wherever you are in the moment and have that context, have the control of turning it off when you want to, turning it on when you need to. Like it's here now. We're gonna just start hammering these use cases summer, like all summer.
Mhm.
Um, and we're gonna continue to see more and more people start to get it. And there's just an avalanche coming because it solves all of the long-standing problems related to using software in a way that allows us to interact with other human beings, right? We're naturally going to be predisposed to moving towards human relationships. And
This is
it's
like this is vibes, this is vibe adminning, vibe CRMing,
vibe
whatever you want
spotting,
to call it.
vibe hubbing.
Vibe
I've
spotting.
been
Yeah,
thinking
vibe
about that
spotting. I like
earlier
that.
this
I
week,
like that.
right? Like vibe
Yeah,
hub
vibe spotting.
spotting, vibe sprocketing, like however you
Something like
want to
that.
say it. This is, oh
It's
man.
it's just the way that it's gonna be, right? That's kind of why I like vibe coding, I kind of left it there, right? And when somebody was like, oh, vibe prompting or whatever, and it's like that was really stupid to me. Um, but what I'm realizing is the same thing I've been telling you guys, which is that like it's just a matter of working with another person, right? So you're vibing with somebody. It's not like when you and even I kind of do love the term because it definitely gets it out of your head that this is a tool. I keep hearing
Go,
that
just
word.
go with the flow. Go,
Yeah, like
go with the flow.
do it to it.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Nico. Thanks for hanging out with us, Sebastian. If you guys want any kind of help with this at all, happy to dig in. One of my favorite activities, I know definitely Nico's favorite. Just start using this stuff, get in there, start learning. We're here for you, and happy to run through any of these use cases live if you want. But get in there, folks. We'll see you next time.